I was born in Wisconsin Rapids to parents that were, my mother was from Wisconsin and my father was from Chicago, Illinois. And we were the typical Midwestern family. We ended up with 3 children. I'm the oldest. My mother was creative through sewing and quilting, and my dad has tried every form of art, as it turns out, from painting to actually working with ceramics and murals with tiles. So he dabbles and he kind of moves around, but I realized there was a lot of creativity in the home. But I focused so much on my financial security, the first phase of my life, that once that was accomplished, I felt secure and comfortable and maybe confident enough to try something else, like oil painting. I was very eager to make money because I came from a very humble set of beginnings, and I was very eager to get married. So I basically did a crash course, and I don't recommend this to any young people today. Instead of going to my Texas Tech College graduation, I got married on that Saturday in New Braunfels, Texas. And instead of taking a decent honeymoon, I went to work in the next a week following that at Texas Instruments. So it was kind of like I went from getting done with the hardest set of courses as a senior in chemical engineering to right into being totally incompetent in semiconductor land. And actually that is a theme in my life story, that I make these functional leaps and somehow I'm comfortable enough being incompetent in the next step, which I think allowed me to make that transition from Texas Instruments to studying art, because I don't mind being incompetent for a while. I sort of have this belief in myself that if I really apply myself and do the work and concentrate on it and focus, I'll be able to get some sort of product or outcome that I appreciate. I think any woman in the corporate executive ranks back in the 80s and 90s moving up experienced some level of ageism and sexism. There were women a generation ahead of me, say 10 years older, 2 of them in particular, that would mentor me and work with me when I was hitting a difficult situation. And I would tend to go to anger pretty quickly, and they would help me understand, okay, you need to vent, get that out of your system, but then you gotta be constructive about this. I'm not gonna be worried about people calling me assertive or aggressive or other words. If someone's gonna break the glass ceiling, I think I might have the right stuff, so let's go for it. I wanted to be an example at that point in my career. I wanted other women to stay with the company. I didn't want them to keep leaving. And I started also sharing my lessons learned about how to carve out a career at Texas Instruments, because each company has its own culture and it's not written down. How do you get a promotion here? So I wrote several articles about the career path, career development at Texas Instruments, and I would give workshops to like small groups of 30 people to try to teach them what I had figured out. And that was my way of giving back to the next generation. When we first retired, we had this camaraderie of the 12 women executives, and we would meet every month, which is highly unusual. We were friends because we had this spirit of women helping women inside the company, and then we kind of continued that following our exit from Texas Instruments. We all had great careers there. We all broke through to levels that women hadn't been in before. You have to tap into who you are now, and not with the veil or the hat of the corporate image. When you're on that corporate treadmill and you're running as fast as you can and you're giving 110% of your energy, you know in the back of your mind when you take a vacation, there's other things when you step away from work that you're enticed by. And I was enticed to collect art from Santa Fe, New Mexico, which we visited frequently. And after about 10 years of collecting that art, I kept questioning myself, being the engineer that I am. How did they do this? What sequence did they do this in? Could I possibly do this? And so that started tickling the back of my brain in the early 2000s. I started thinking maybe I should take that art class. And that led me to the community college where I took the first painting and drawing art class. part of the motivation when you're switching, huge functional leaps from like engineering at a semiconductor company to taking your first drawing and painting class is the motivation needs to be internally driven, because the first 2 years of painting and drawing were absolutely ugly. So you're not going to get a lot of external validation of what you're doing. No one likes it. It's ugly. You're learning. And so one way I would motivate myself is to focus on the experience. Isn't it a joy and pleasure that I am here in the classroom learning from this wonderful professor who's a professional artist about art? And so focusing on the experience was really important to me. You can never really step too far away from who you are. And I'm an engineer at heart. I like problem solving. And I was taught there was only one answer. But one liberating thing about art is there's more than one answer. And I can be wrong, which is actually right. So that's one thing I love about art. Now, a lot of my paintings are landscapes, and they're aerial perspective landscapes, which is what I'm drawn to. The grid, the X, Y, and Z axis is core part of being an engineer and solving equations. But I believe it's also showing up in my art, because when I see a landscape and I'm painting the landscape, I'm thinking about X, Y, Z. And so I think the grid is inherent as an underlay in a lot of my landscape paintings. To me, success was just being a painter. I just wanted to have that experience. And the fact that it was improving year over year was just like icing on the cake to me. And that was enough to feed my drive to keep going and my persistence to stay with the change from engineering to painting. For women out there who are over 50 or 60, realize we're living a long time. I have 2 parents that are approaching 90. And my goal is to have something I love, that I have passion for, that I want to get up and do every day for the next 20 years. And I think oil painting, for me, is that answer.